Most of my clients want to express themselves through their clothes, and that includes wearing patterns. A lot of times they default to what seems professional, but it ends up being the same, boring and predictable. So they avoid prints or anything different because it feels like it's not professional enough in settings where the stakes are high, like when you're doing a presentation, maybe like getting on stage or negotiating a deal. But the right pattern can actually help you express your aesthetic and still look more than appropriate for work. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to wear prints at work without losing authority in those important work situations. Hi, my name is Basia and I am a former celebrity stylist turned personal stylist, and for the past 15 years, I've helped executives, directors, CEOs and entrepreneurs walk into a room and immediately look like the woman in charge. I work with my clients inside my Dress for Impact program and also one-on-one. So if you want to learn more about how we can work together, you will find all the details in a description below. So without further ado, let's get started. Wearing patterns can feel very confusing. There are so many patterns and it's not always clear where to start, how to wear them and how to mix them, because the goal is for you to always feel confident, look professional, but most importantly be seen as the one in charge with authority and credibility. Now, I can imagine that when you walk through a big department store and see all these patterns, you're probably scared to take a chance, even if you like some of them. You don't want to overthink your wardrobe because honestly, who has time for that? So the easiest thing is to stick to solid colors because it feels safe. You know you're going to look professional. But on another hand, it ends up looking very generic, very entry level, and it doesn't really represent your personality. So first, let's start with what patterns you should definitely avoid, and these really apply to everyone. Then we're going to talk about which ones are the best choice and how to mix them with the rest of your wardrobe so you always look put together and actually look like a leader. So the first pattern you want to avoid is any type of big pattern, anything overwhelming. And that really applies to all types of patterns. And most of the time I see florals everywhere, but this goes for anything, whether it's polka dots, stripes, geometric, or anything else. When the pattern is too big, it becomes overwhelming and very distracting. And that's definitely not what you want to go for. Also, big patterns will automatically make you look bigger, which again is probably not the direction you want. The next pattern I usually tell my clients to avoid is animal print. Now, I would just say overall, avoid it, especially when it comes to tops and pants. If you absolutely love it, you can wear it in smaller ways, like shoes, and that can look more than appropriate. But blouses, blazers, coats, dresses, not the best choice. Now, animal print can look professional, put together, but it has to be very specific, more delicate and more subtle. So overall, now, if you're not sure whether that particular print is professional enough, I would just avoid animal print unless you're wearing it as an accessory like shoes or bag. Floral literal patterns. What does that mean? Those are something I personally cannot stand, and I see them everywhere. It's basically a direct copy of a flower printed onto clothing, especially when it's big. There's nothing wrong with floral patterns overall. You can absolutely wear them in a professional settings, but when it's done in a very literal way, it just looks very cheap, juvenile, and very generic. And I see those patterns all the time. So I would just not wear them at all. And I will show you what kind of florals to wear if this is a pattern that you absolutely love, but definitely not this type. So now you know what not to wear. Let's talk about what patterns are actually more than appropriate in a professional setting. And we're going to start with classic patterns because you really, can't go wrong with those. So what are they? First, polka dot. Now, if you love this pattern, I would definitely go with smaller ones. Black and white is probably the easiest and also like the safest choice, but you can go into color if you are in more casual setting. The next one is stripes, and again, this is a classic. It's been in fashion for years and it's not going anywhere. It's one of those patterns that is more than appropriate for meetings, conferences, all of it. Black and white is a great starting point, but navy and white and other color combinations can work just as well. Just keep the stripes smaller and more refined. The next one is hand stoof, which is again a very traditional pattern. It can, feel a little bit busy, so if you want to be careful with it. Now, if you choose this one, mix it with solid colors so your outfit doesn't really feel overwhelming. And I would stick to like black and white, maybe gray and white, or like a black and gray. It's still very strong, appropriate pattern for work. And the next one is plaid. And there are so many variations here that you can go into navy, gray and brown, more neutral tones, navy. Plaid works really well in pieces like pants and blazers, and those are probably the easiest way to bring it into your wardrobe. So those are like, I would say, the main classic patterns that you will see everywhere. There are obviously more, but these are in the easiest to find, and they come in more classic colors, and they are more than appropriate to incorporate into your wardrobe. Now, outside of those classic patterns, there are a couple of other ones you can incorporate. You just have to be, I would say, more strategic with how you do it, so your outfit doesn't read too casual, too junior, or entry level. So let's start with florals. Now, I have a lot of clients who absolutely love florals because they are one of those, I would say, feminine patterns a lot of women are drawn to. They just don't know how to incorporate them into a professional wardrobe and still look like they have authority. So first, you want to find really small, delicate florals. What you're looking for are more modern versions, not what I mentioned earlier, where it looks like a literal picture of a flower printed on your shirt. You want something more artistic, more refined. So go for smaller, more delicate patterns. Now, to make sure that your outfit still looks professional and authoritative, and it fits, into most work environments, you want to pair that with a classic silhouette. So what I would do is to choose something like a classic button-up shirt, because you are choosing a classic, very professional silhouette, even though it has floral patterns. Together, this piece is going to be more than appropriate to wear to all work environments, or at least most of them. Now, the second pattern that I absolutely love outside of classic patterns and florals is geometric pattern. And again, this is a pattern that it's been very popular for years. And it's one of those classic and more traditional options. So if you're not sure what a geometric pattern is, it's basically a pattern that repeats evenly across the fabric. And there are a lot of different versions of this. One of my favorites is like the shirt that I'm wearing actually today. It's a green and brown, pattern that's consistent throughout the top. And again, because of the silhouette of this top, this is more than appropriate to wear in a professional setting. Now, there are many different pieces you can find in geometric patterns, but this is what I would recommend. I would not go for like pants or blazers. I would probably stick to like blouses or tops. Make sure the pattern is small and not too busy. You don't want anything like too large because it will just feel overwhelming. And the best way to make sure that this works is to pair it with a classic silhouette, like a button-up shirt. That's what keeps the look professional, put together, and authoritative, especially when you are walking into important rooms. So lastly, let's talk about how to mix patterns with other pieces and colors. And there are a lot of rules, but one very important one you want to keep in mind is this. If you're mixing a pattern piece with something else, the easiest way to do it is to pick one color from that pattern and match it with another piece in your outfit, okay? So now if your pattern has multiple colors, just choose one of them and connect it to another piece you're wearing that has the same color. That's what makes the whole outfit feel cohesive and pulled together. So overall, if you're just starting to incorporate prints and you know it's part of your personality, you love patterns, my advice is to start with classic ones and keep them small. Start with a top. I would avoid pants in the beginning. The second piece you can add later, it would be a blazer, but start with a top and build from there. Now you really can't go wrong with classic patterns, especially if you know you're going to feel confident wearing them. And this is the best way really to start incorporating patterns in a way that elevates your wardrobe, helps you stand out, but still makes you look put together and like you are in charge. So now you know how to incorporate patterns into your professional wardrobe and still look like a boss. If you want to learn more, I have a free elevated work style guide. I'm going to find it in the description below. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when I post new videos, which is every Wednesday. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week.